Hello and welcome to Analysis with Antonio, the show where we read and critique your poetry. I'm your host, Antonio, and the way the show works is I will first read your piece in its entirety without any interruptions, and then I will go into a line-by-line, word-by-word critique where I go over every facet and detail to the best of my abilities. I will highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly, and all the things I would alter along the way. So without any further ado, let's dive into our first piece.
Beneath the moon's soft silver glow, a girl on the bridge, her thoughts aflow, in white and blue with eyes that gleam, lost in the beauty of her nocturnal dream. Fireflies twinkle a waltz in the air, their flickering lights a sight so rare, reflecting on the lake's tranquil face, a mirror of peace in this sacred space. A wooden house in the distance stands, surrounded by nature's loving hands. Tall grass sways in a gentle breeze, whispering secrets to ancient trees. The night is alive with whispers and sighs. In this tranquil moment, time flies. The girl on the bridge, a soul at ease, immersed in the moonlight's gentle tease. A scene of beauty, serene and still. The world around her, a tranquil thrill. In this peaceful, enchanted night, little she feels, but her spirit is caressed under the calming light.
All right, let's do the analysis of this piece. So the poem didn't have a title. It was written by Christloveth Peter, that's their Facebook handle. And the way it was presented on Facebook is it had a picture that accompanied it, but for the sake of analysis, we're going to look at it in a Word document because it's just easier to point at things and go through it with less distraction. The poem is broken into quatrains, right? So 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines. It has 5 of them, 5 quatrains, and the rhyme scheme is pretty standard. We have glow, aflow, gleam, dream, air, rare, face, space, stands, hands, breeze, trees, sighs, flies, ease, tease, still, thrill, night, light, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, F, F, G, G, H, I, J, J. Very standard stuff. No slant rhymes, nothing crazy going on. All perfect rhymes. A lot of simple words, but simple is good because you did everything perfect there. So the next thing I notice about this is on top of being very standard as far as quatrains and rhyme scheme, it seems like the cadence and the syllable count is very much trying to be standard, but just a hair off. You start off with beneath the moon's soft silver glow, 8 syllables. A girl on the bridge, her thoughts aflow, 9. In white and blue, with eyes that gleam, back to 8. Lost in the beauty of her nocturnal dream, 11. So way too much there. So if we're going to critique this and say, what can we do better? We're noticing that 2 of them have 8, so most likely you want to standardize the whole damn thing and get everything to 8. The last line, let's start there. Lost in the beauty of her nocturnal dream. Lost in beauty of her nocturnal dream. That knocks us down 1. Lost in beauty of her nocturnal dream. Changing it slightly. Lost in beauty's nocturnal dream. Now we're down to 8 syllables. And it sounds nicer when you read the 2 lines together. In white and blue with eyes that gleam. Lost in beauty's nocturnal dream. See, it has that bouncy cadence. How can we fix that last line up here? A girl on the bridge, her thoughts aflow. Upon the bridge, her thoughts aflow. I took away a girl because it's a her, and her means it's a girl, so it's redundant. You don't really need it, and we were able to knock out a couple syllables. So beneath the moon's soft silver glow, upon the bridge, her thoughts aflow, in white and blue with eyes that gleam, lost in beauty's nocturnal dream. It's got that perfect bouncy cadence. 8 syllables fits this really well. I would go through the rest of the stanzas and double check that they're all 8 syllables and adjust accordingly. The one that really we have to take a look at, I'm not going to do every stanza, but we'll jump down to the last one. Because this last line, I don't know what you were thinking here. Especially because the majority of it is pretty close to, that 8 syllable and consistent. And then this last line, it just goes on forever, right? And there's also, I think, a spelling error. So a scene A scene of beauty, serene and still. We have 9, so close enough. You can... a scene of beauty, serene and still. You got to get rid of a syllable there. The world around her, a tranquil thrill. 9. Again, the 8s were working better for you. Since you started with 8, stay with 8. Find a way to bring those down to 8. You're at 9, 9. In this peaceful, enchanted night, you got 8 there. Little she feels, but her spirit is caress under the calming light. 12. It was all over the place. I think that her spirit is caressed. It could be a couple things. So let's write this in. Caressed. Her spirit is caressed under the calming light. Or could it be her spirit is careless under the calming light? Who knows? So that is for... I spelled that wrong. That is for you to answer as the poet. Is it that her spirit is caressed under the calming light, or is her spirit careless under the calming light? But her spirit does not caress under the calming light. That just doesn't make any grammatical sense. So fix that. This is your issue. And on top of that, the 12. Let's do another count. Little she feels, but her spirit is caress under the calming light. Yeah, 12. It's just like, what? 12 syllables? I can't spell for nothing today. But that's why we did a Word document. 12 syllables? Question mark. So we need to bring that down. In this peaceful, enchanted night, little she feels, but her spirit is caressed under the calming light. So we need calming light, right? Calming light, because light and night. We need to end on that nice, perfect rhyme, but we need to knock this all down. So let's just do a return, and we're going to try and rewrite what you want to be saying here into an 8-syllable line that'll match up with it. In this peaceful, enchanted night, she feels little under the light. Yeah, well, let's just start it with a simple one. She feels little in calming light. She feels little in calming light. So the reason that this line would work, right, it's condensing a lot of what you're trying to say. You don't need to say that she's caressed under the light or careless under the light. She feels little. This works out good in a couple ways, because it can mean that she feels little, like she's not getting any sensations. There's little sensations, little feeling, or that she feels little, that she feels small in the calming light, especially if you're having this whole big night sky sort of thing. So there can be two ways that this part gets read. She feels little. She feels little in calming light. And I assume you wanted the word calm in there, right? And we brought in light to rhyme with the night. So in this peaceful, enchanted night, she feels little. She feels little in calming light. We could in with but calming light. She feels little. She feels little, but calming light. Yeah, in calming light is fine. But yeah, you want to condense this long 12-syllable line down to 8 syllables, so then it lines up with the line before it, so then the rhymes really pop a lot more. You want to fix that one word that we don't know what it really was supposed to be. But let's see if there was anything else about this poem we like. So that was all just structure, rhyme, cadence, and syllable counts. On top of that, let's see if there is... I did notice one word I know for sure was... we're going to control F. Oop. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. I believe it was the word tranquil. Oh, yeah, it's actually 3 places. Tranquil. Awesome. What did I spell wrong? Tranquil. My keyboard didn't work there. 1, 2, 3. You repeat the word several times. I kind of like that, actually, because it's, once per, in the stanzas. It's not twice in a stanza. When you repeat the word twice in a stanza, it's really overbearing, but when you separate them by stanzas, it's fantastic. So that really worked out pretty good. Repetition is always a good thing to have in a poem. I did like the soft alliterations, starting with the word soft. Soft silver, right? So let's just toss in S, right? Soft silver. Were there any other places where we had that alliteration? No. Control F, by the way, your best friend when you're analyzing poetry, right? Because you can see what the hell's going on. Let's see if there was any other alliterations that we like. Beauty's nocturnal dream, twinkle, waltz in the air, flicker lights so rare, reflecting lake's tranquil face, a mirror of peace, sacred space. You did have the SS there, but not really too much. Distant, surrounded by nature's loving hands, tall grass sways and gentle breeze, whispering secrets to ancient trees. No, not really big on the alliteration, I guess. That was the only one really right up front. We got something. World around her, tranquil, in this peaceful, enchanted light, feels little in coming night. Yeah. Okay, so not a lot of alliteration. Probably could have peppered in a little bit more, especially because most people really do love alliteration. It's one of the go-to poetic devices. But really, the entirety of the poem. So if we take it as a big picture thing right now, it's very consistent as far as language goes. You've painted a really good scene. There's moonlight. There's a bridge. We have some colors coming in, white and blue, and we know it's nighttime, nocturnal. It's a dream. Okay, that's all really good, and it stays right up into the end. It's an enchanted night. It's a calming light. It's very consistent in tone and word choice, especially when you have like fireflies twinkle, a waltz in the air. This one is always a one that you got to be careful of. Like there's a song Fireflies. It's a very cliche type of thing when you're talking about like magical nights. It seems like a Disney movie where you'd have fireflies and stuff. Fireflies that got caught up in that big bluish black thing, as Timon assumes the stars are, right? So it's a tough one because it's always going to sound kind of fluffy, right? But in general, that's just what you were going for with this poem. It's not trying to be too deep or too anything. It is supposed to be kind of lovey-dovey. So it falls in consistency with the theme. I would be careful of that one. But I like this, a waltz in the air. It's a little cliche, but it's also, like I said, it's a lovey poem. So it's going to have cliches. It's unavoidable to not have cliches, but you're giving, an action to it, that they're waltzing in the air, and it almost becomes musical. So that works out pretty good. Actually, there was kind of an alliteration here. The fireflies and then the flickering, right? We have the F and the F. That's really nice right there. They're stacked. Alliteration doesn't always have to be in the line. It can be stacked upon line and line. And when you see F over here, you see F over here. So that works out really nice. Reflecting on the light's tranquil face. We kind of know that we're on a lake or something because there was a bridge earlier, and now we're really getting more insight into the scenery. This poem in general is just painting a scene. I don't feel like it gets to any climax or any plot, really. But, it overall gave me a lot of imagery. So the imagery was very strong in the piece. A wooden house in the distance stands, surrounded by nature's loving hands. Tall grass sways in the gentle breeze, whispering secrets of ancient trees. Right? You're painting the scene. There's a wooden house. What's the point of telling us that there's a wooden house, though, right? Aside from just giving us the imagery, this is a painting. Is there anyone in the house? Who knows? Is it her house? Who knows? We don't need to know, I guess, what's in the house or why the house is there or why it's important to the scene. I'm of the thought that you should only bring up things if it's critical to the scene. And I guess, if we're treating this poem as just a painting, a broad brushstroke, then it is critical because you want to see that in the painting you've described. But I would question what if we took away the wooden house. If the wooden house wasn't there, would the poem stay the same? Would it mean the same thing? What is the deeper meaning? Is there a deeper meaning to that? Is there a deeper meaning to the fact that there is a bridge? A lot of time bridges are used as metaphors because, you're bridging the gap. You're bridging something more than actually just land to land. So you want to be careful sometimes because people are going to read into these types of words, bridges and structures. They're going to want to tie in a metaphor to it. And if there isn't a metaphor to tie in and it's just a bridge, it kind of leaves them hanging a little bit. We have some tall grass and the gentle breeze. There's a lot of gentle in this, right? It's calming and it is gentle. So again, consistency of language is terrific in this poem. Whispering secrets of ancient trees. A little cliche. It fits. The only reason I like the ancient trees is because the cadence went really well with it. Whispering secrets to ancient trees. I like that, especially because you got the personification of the natural elements, right? The gentle breeze is whispering. That's good. But ancient, other than the fact that it fits the cadence, why is it important to know that the trees are ancient? Unless you're trying to explain more about like how small man's time on Earth is and how much greater nature is and how much longer it's been there. Is it critical that we talk about it being ancient, or is this more for the line's cadence and sound, or is it a detail that is critical? So that's sort of a question you might want to ask yourself. The night is alive with whispers and sighs. Aha, we did have another repeated word, whisper. Whisper. Whispering secrets, and the night is alive with whispers and sighs. A little near to that, because we're saying the tall grass sways in a gentle breeze, whispering secrets to ancient trees. The night is alive with whispers and sighs. I would find another word. One thing you can always do is just do this and then go down to synonyms with, come on, go faster. Sorry, my computer is so slow. With whispers, murmurs. Let's try that instead, right? Just toss in a different synonym, because repetition is good when it's further apart. When it's too close, it just seems like you're not very original with your word choices. So look up some synonyms. It's always fun. You extend your vocabulary. Whispering secrets to ancient trees. The night is alive with murmurs and sighs. I kind of like that, because it's a totally different sound for the word. You lose the repetition. It means the same thing. It's a synonym, and that works out well there in this tranquil moment. Again, it's tranquil, it's calm, it's all the same types of adjectives. The girl on the bridge, a soul at ease. I did remove that Anya. I took that away. I said just upon the bridge instead of a girl on the bridge, but there was the repetition before I edited the piece of the girl on the bridge. But actually now it kind of works out, because we didn't have the girl on the bridge. It's just upon the bridge earlier, and later on we get the final descriptor of the girl on the bridge. So at ease, again, ease going along with the gentle, going along with the calming. It's all the same kind of adjectives, very, very consistent. Scene of beauty, serene and still. Beauty, that's another returning word. Did I already highlight this? I don't remember. Beaut. We'll just do the BEA to highlight where it is. We had lost in beauty, nocturnal, a scene of beauty, serene and still. So the poem kind of has an echoing nature. The only thing I would possibly add to that is, because there's kind of a ping pong bouncing of the words and the descriptors, perhaps on this lake, it was a lake, right? Yeah, some body of water. Maybe there could be a throwing of a stone, right? And then you have the ripples, and then the ripples kind of are reflective of also the word choice throughout the poem. So seeing as this whole poem is just a big description of a scene, I would add some details that echo the themes that you're returning to within the actual imagery itself. So again, ripples would be a terrific one to bring into it. Also, I didn't really notice, aside from the fireflies, there's not really a lot of animals in this scene. I would possibly bring some of that into it, and a little bit of the sound. I didn't really hear a lot of sound elements besides there's just the breeze and it's whispering, right? Was there anything about like the reeds doing anything? There should be some more sounds to add to the night, because as we know, nature isn't very quiet. You go to a lake and you got the sound of like cicadas and all these other things going off, and the loon, right? So bring in some of those sounds. Even though it's calm, it's also, sometimes it's a little bit eerie. So you might want to paint a few more sounds into this. But overall, the piece I loved, and this is why I selected it as the first piece to start out with, because it's very well structured. The rhyme scheme it's standard, it's straightforward. You're very concrete in the way you're going about this poem. You just have to adjust a little bit of the syllable count, and then you're really on track for a great piece over here. So I appreciate you submitting it, and let's dive into our next piece.
I know why leaves fall, why they ran out of their beauties glittering, and their stalks failing. They no longer hold with might. I know why they fold their arms and give up the fight. I know why leaves fall, why they cease blossoming, and why they no longer bask in the euphoria of their energies, and their colors fail to impress. I know why leaves fall, why they can't their cries hide, and their souls give up the call. I know why they fall off from the glory of their beginnings. I know why leaves fall, why their lips shrink and fade. I know why their skins no longer glow. They have run out of time, and the seasons are no longer kind. When it is time to gather, and the days are ripe to wither, to fall is to obey the law of nature. I know why leaves fall, and allow to pass through the dust of worthlessness.
All right, let's dive into the analysis of this piece. So the title is Why Leaves Fall. I'm going to start off right off the bat. Like, I don't understand why there's a comma there. There shouldn't be a comma in a title. That's just kind of silly right there. Why Leaves Fall, and it also doesn't... It's a little redundant because the whole poem is going to repeat a lot of I know why leaves fall. Why Leaves Fall being the title, it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination in a poem that's about to repeat it a whole lot. So the title could be better, it could be more enticing, but it's fine enough. I would just get rid of the comma, I guess. That's the big start. I do like the repetition. I know why leaves fall. 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 And I like that you didn't start the last stanza with I know why leaves fall. You started it with something different. You threw us off, but then it comes back right before it cinches up the poem. I know why leaves fall, and then you give us one last line to close it out. So I think the way you employed the repetition of that line was well done, and it felt nice. It didn't feel like you were over repeating it. It felt like you were breaking it up in pretty good amounts of stanzas. There was a good enough amount of lines between each repetition. Now, there was a few spots where really English was not your friend, and I struggled reading this. Let's get right to the first line that was really hard to read. Why they can't their cries hide. I know why leaves fall. Why they can't their cries hide, and why they can't hide their cries. I know why leaves fall, and why they can't hide their cries. That makes more sense. Grammatically, the previous line was just all over the place. This is what you're trying to say, and it's easy enough because there's no real rhyme or anything else going on in the poem. So and there's no standard syllable count, so you can write in anything. It just has to make grammatical sense at that point. And there was just a few other spots where grammar fell right off the map and needed a little bit of tweaks, right? So I know why leaves fall. They ran. Here, fall and ran. I know why leaves fall. So fall, we're doing present tense. I know why they fall, right? If it was the past, it would be I know why leaves fell. And then you say why they ran out of their beauties glittering. So I know why leaves fall, why they run out of their beauties glittering. I don't like the term beauties glittering, out of their beauties glittering. Why they ran out of their beauties glittering. There's just a couple different things, right? So the fall, ran, pick a tense, right? Are you going past tense or are you going present tense? Because if it's, I know why the leaves fell, why they ran out of their beauties, then fell and ran would work. I know why leaves fall, why they run out of their blah, blah, blah. So fall, run, fell, ran. Pick a tense, stick with it, match up the words, right? Why they ran out... I understand what you're trying to say, why they exhausted their beauties. I would... Why they exhausted... Why they exhausted
exhausted their glittering beauty.
I'm just rewriting this line for you because it needed some major tweaks. So I know why leaves fall, why they fall, see, I'm falling for it. Past tense, present tense. I know why leaves fall, why they exhaust their glittering beauty. We're keeping it present tense. Present tense is better for a poem because it makes it feel nicer. It has the present action, right? We like being in the present tense. We like living in the present tense. Although in a story about fall, I guess it can be past tense, but again, just match them up. So I know why leaves fall, why they exhaust their glittering beauty, and their stalks failing. So again, just keep the tense right. They no longer hold with might. I know why they fold their arms and give up the fight. I like the hold, fold, nice internal rhymes, and I like the external rhymes, might, fight. They're simple, but they're okay. They work for the poem, and because there's no like standard syllable count, they can be wherever you want them to be. Those work out pretty well, and it's nice. It's nice to have the poetic device of rhyme. I know why leaves fall. We get that perfect repetition coming back in. Why they cease blossoming. Blossoming was kind of an interesting choice of words here, right? Because like usually like flower petals and the flower is what blossoms. The leaves don't really blossom. So I thought that was an interesting choice of word. I wouldn't use it. I would use a different word because leaves, I don't really think they blossom. I think flowers blossom. So I think it's an inappropriate word. But if you like the way it is, it's just going to throw off the reader a little bit because flowers blossom, not leaves. And why they no longer bask in the euphoria of their energies. I felt like this line was a little bit long, but it was fine, I guess. And their colors fail to impress. I know why leaves fall and why they can't hide their cries. Okay, well, Word has already told me. Fix that. We already fixed why they can't hide their cries. I'm actually the one who rewrote that. And their souls give up the call. We have that rhyme, right? Call, fall. Cool. Simple rhymes again. I know why they fall off from the glory of their beginnings. So here's where I don't like the repetition, right? If we look up the word fall, how often you use it. Fall. All right, it shifted us down. Right? It's in all the repeated lines, but then it's in a couple extra places. So here's one of them. And here's another one of them over here. To fall is to obey the law of nature. I know why leaves fall. I get it. Fall is both an action and it is the season, but I don't like the repetition here because it just feels like you don't know another word for falling. And same in this location. All the full lines is perfectly fine, but this one here and this one here, they feel like you just exhausted your language and your vocabulary. So I would tweak that, adjust, look up synonyms. Hey, we did that on the last poem. Let's look up a synonym, right? I know why they tumble. You could toss in a different word. Otherwise, it just feels too dry. Although the leaves are dry when they're falling, so maybe that works out, right? Why their lips shrink and fade. This is probably one of my favorite lines right here, right? Because you're given a personification. Like, leaves don't have lips, right? Humans have lips. So you're giving them an attribute that they don't have. And I really like that lips shrink and fade. It just, you described a leaf in a way I had not heard before. So this was definitely one of your stronger lines. I like that. I like that one a lot. Why their lips shrink and fade. I know why their skins no longer glow. You continue that whole idea of the personification of the leaf. This is a great meaty section right here. This was good. They have run out of time and the seasons are no longer kind. It kind of shifts to you're kind of shifting in this general area from here down, and I like it. I don't know how I would break it up differently. Let's take a look at this. I know why leaves fall, why their lips shrink and fade. I know why their skins no longer glow. This is you answering why they no longer. At the beginning, you're saying, I know why they do this, and then this is sort of from here on out, you're explaining why they fall, right? Because they have run out of time, because the seasons are not kind. This is sort of a break. There's definitely I'm going to underline right around here. Let's underline. right? Because from this point forward, we're explaining why they fall. At the beginning, you're just adding to the extent of, I know why they fall, why they cease to do this, why they do that, and here you explain what's going on. So I don't know if you want to possibly do a break there. I did like the stanza break, so probably not. It's just that this is the turning point, the volta of this whole poem. When it's time to gather and the days are ripe to wither. I like this one as well. This is another strong piece that you had, ripe to wither, because things that are withering, they're not ripe, they're decaying, right? And to be ripe is to be like, to be perfect at its peak, right? They're ripe to wither, so it's got that's just a great juxtaposition of words right there. To fall is to obey the law of nature. I know why leaves fall, and are allowed to pass through the dust of worthlessness, and are allowed. So really the majority of this poem just has grammatical errors that you need to just kind of fix. Pick your tense, add in a couple extra words to make the English just make a little bit more sense, and then you have a good piece. Overall, it's going to be a tough sell, right? Anytime you're talking about the seasons, poets love talking about the seasons, and specifically talking about fall because change and all that stuff. So there's been a lot of poems about it. So you're always going to have a tough sell to make it seem like something new. I would really fixate on all this personification, because that's really the strongest, newest thing that you brought to the table for it. Overall, it doesn't really get to a point. It's just saying that you know why they're falling and why they existed just to die, sort of thing. It's a metaphor for life, and that's why poets always write about fall. I don't think you push the boundaries of that thought. So the theme was concrete. You stayed in your lane, but you didn't expand it outward enough to give us something new to read into. So going over this once again, good repetition, fix the tenses so they're all the same. Work on some of the English, like the line that was there that I already rewrote for you. Really fixate. I don't know if I would add more, but this was the best part about it, where you're adding the personifications. And overall, good piece, fun, different. I like the line length as well, right? You always tossed in one or two long lines, which kind of made it feel a little, you made the reader a little bit breathless, but there was enough short lines and enough repetition that when I read this, it was actually really sounding nice in my head, because you can kind of change the tone of, I know why leaves fall. It almost gets like, it changes each time you say the line, just based on the context of the previous stanza and how it ended. So I think that you did a good job on the repetition. The rhymes were nice, few and far between. There was only a couple early on, and they were light. And the personification was good. So overall, great piece. Thank you for submitting. And I think we're on to the next piece.
Once removed, this shadow lingers. I have not forgotten hunger. Even as the flame burns dim, I tremble. This wretched vessel and hallowed finger writhe above the flow, beneath the swirl, breathe the lost improper girl. I tremble, devoured in the compulsion. Growth has already consumed me.
All right, let's dive into the analysis of this piece. We have another untitled piece. It is by Mark James. So we're going to start off right on the thing I hate. It is this nonsense right here. And it appears 3 times. And it's even more terrible when you see it in a Word document. You know why? Because it's underlined. You know why it's underlined? Because it's not right. That's why they put the underline in a Word document. If it is a single word, needs to be capitalized. You can't just leave it undercased. It reminds me of a certain poet, Rupi Kaur. And unless you want to be tossed into that basket of deplorables of online Instagram poets who uncapitalize the letter I, then don't do it. It's nonsense. Her excuse is that in their native language, that's the way they do it. Whatever. It's bullshit. If you're writing in English, do it in proper English. The rest of the poem is fine, right? I like that you didn't overcapitalize the first lines, because a lot of people do that sometimes. This was one of those poems where you were smart. You didn't overcapitalize on every single line, but you do need to capitalize letter I. So sorry, it's a sticking point for me, but fix that. Don't do that. Once removed, this shadow lingers, right? I would put a comma here. You need some punctuation. Overall, you didn't over punctuate, but over here you under punctuated because there is a pause, and I kind of, even when I did the reading, put it there. Once removed, the shadow lingers. It's not once removed this shadow lingers. There needs to be a pause. That's just how it will be spoken. I have not forgotten hunger, even as the flame burns dim. I tremble. This wretched vessel and hallowed finger. So here is our first rhyme, right? We get the finger linger rhyme. Finger linger. Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger? Do you have to have the S? Yeah, you do, but then over here you don't have it. So lingers and finger. Linger finger is a perfect rhyme. Lingers finger, not a perfect rhyme. So I would prefer to see an S and this wretched vessel and hallowed fingers. It just, you got to figure out a way to get rid of the S over here or add the S over here. Do what you need to the lines, but I hate when it's not a perfect rhyme. That's just my 2 cents. Perfect the rhymes. Also, I'm starting to get the feeling, and after reading this poem a couple times, breathe the lost and proper girl. So this is about a girl. We're talking about a wretched vessel, and we're talking about fingers, and we're talking about a hunger and a flame. I'm getting a feeling like this is about a girl touching herself. That might just be me, but she is a vessel, right? She's using her fingers. She has a hunger inside, a flame that's burning, right? The proper girl is now lost. She is swirling the fingers. There's writhing and there's flowing. This is about masturbation, and you can't tell me any different about it. Now, Mark, I don't know what gives you the right to write a poem about a woman masturbating, but God bless you for it. You're going for it. So if that's not what this poem is about, you need to re-review this poem to make it sound a lot less like that then, because there's trembling. I did like this repetition. There's been a lot of repetition in the poems today, but I tremble. It's good over here, right? Because those are 2 short lines. And it really breaks away from it. And if we're really, playing with it, this would be like even more fun to add a little bit of like an italicize it or something, because it's like the action, the reverberation. I tremble, right? You could even play around with doing something like that where it's in a different location or something. You don't have to, but right now the way you have it set up, those 2 short lines, the repetition, beautiful, perfect. The other big things I like about this piece, because there is a lot to like about the piece. Over here, let's go with a different color now. Let's go with purple. I think that's purple. The EA, the assonance over here, you stacked it beautifully, and it's even more obvious because actually it's not just the assonance of the EA. You have the EA, TH, EA, TH. There's just so many repeated letters between these words, right? And then the B's to start it. So, like, if you're really just looking at these 2 words stacked above each other, it's beautiful. Beneath the swirl, breathe the lost and proper girl. And here you get yourself a nice little proper rhyme, a perfect rhyme. So we like that. Girl, swirl. So that works. That's really good over here. Devoured in the compulsion. Devoured in, I would almost want to say, not the compulsion, devoured in her compulsion. I would want to bring it back to the girl, right? Be more definitive of it. Perhaps this would be an addition or a change that you can make. Devoured in her compulsion. Growth has already consumed me. Now, this is what kind of throws me off here, right? And it's hard to avoid this, Mark, because you're talking about it as unless you are a girl, and Mark is just a name that can go both ways now. But it's sounding like the character and the narrator is the girl, and then the growth has already consumed me. This is fine if the author is a girl. but because I keep seeing your name, it's making me think that it's written by you, and you're the narrator. So it just doesn't work here, right? Devoured in her compulsion, or devoured in the compulsion, as you had before. Growth has already consumed me. But it just, you need to reconcile the fact that you're a guy writing about this. Growth has already consumed her. I would just make it, if it's about her, make it all about her. That's how I would change it, to reconcile that it's a guy writing about a girl's perspective, or about a girl. Now you're writing about her. Devoured in her compulsion, growth has already consumed her. I felt like the poem just dropped off right here. Like it can end right there. It just feels like you're leading up. This is the whole intro, and then I want to see about the changed persona. I want to almost see more to the poem. It felt like there was more to be said, and you left us as the reader hanging. So unless that was the intent of the poem, that it's not leading you anywhere, it's just saying what happened and growth has consumed her, that's it, fine, I guess you can end there. But I wanted to see the outcome of that. Who is she now because of that? So I feel like the poem is shorter than it needs to be. And obviously, like, we're in the age of social media, right? Short poems are all the rage because they retain our attention just long enough. Sometimes a poem goes on too long, you lose the reader anyways. But I felt like this poem had more to say, and you ended it in kind of a short manner. So I would add more to the poem. I think you have a good starting setting, and everything going for it. And I would just like to know how the girl has now changed, right? Other than that, let's dive in a little bit. Even as the flame burns dim. Flame burns dim. I kind of like this and kind of don't like it, right? Because, I just feel like there was another way of saying it. Even as the flame burns dim. Even as the flame burns dim. I don't know. Even as the burning flames dim. I would just almost rearrange this a little bit. Even as the flame burns dim. You can keep it, I guess. It's kind of clustery right there. I'm not a big fan, but wretched vessel, I like. That's really good. And hallowed finger. I'm wondering why it's hallowed. Why is it hallowed? I'm going to put a question mark here. Why? What is holy about this finger? Or hallowed about this finger, I guess. So I don't really get that question answered. So it just feels like this wretched vessel, and I just feel like you needed a word to describe the finger. I don't know why we picked hallowed, but I feel like you could toss in any word and it wouldn't change the meaning of this poem, unless there is a reason that it's hallowed. And in which case, if there is a reason that it's hallowed, you need to explain it more. You need to give me more to connect the dots, because right now it's just a loose puzzle piece with nothing else connecting to it that I can see. So you need to give a little bit more as to why it's hallowed, or remove the fact that it is hallowed. That would be my suggestion there. And again, we had some more good stuff going on here, some more assonance. Well, kind of alliteration, actually, because the writhe and wretch, right? It's more than just the first letter, though. It's the WRs. So that's really nice above each other. So I like that. Forgotten in flame. So you have your alliteration above each other there, stacked. That also is really nice. Motion, growth, sorry, consumed her. Yeah, overall, it's a cool piece, because I love any piece that has a sexual innuendo. And if there wasn't a sexual innuendo, I really promise for this critique, because I basically made that assumption. But no, not an assumption. It's based on fact. It's all there. I like a poem like this because it's saying it, but it's not saying it in grotesque terms. I think you were touching upon it in a very proper manner, if you will. So this was a really fun piece, especially because it was a shorter piece. But I do kind of wish it went on or had a better conclusion. Maybe I was just disheartened by the conclusion. Maybe it doesn't need to go on. It just leaves the reader feeling like, oh, well, there's nothing really more to gain from it. It didn't have, it was missing a je ne sais quoi. So either extend the piece, or if you want that to be the feeling the reader is left with, that kind of just sour taste in their mouth of nothingness, you can end it right there. And this concludes our analysis for the Antonio session. I really appreciated all the pieces that were sent to me. Patrick cultivates the pieces from the page and sends them to me, and then I go through them and pick the ones that I liked. The 3 I picked today were all a little bit different, and that's why I wanted to focus in on them. This last piece was really good about, again, the assonance, and the letter repetition was fantastic on it. So I really enjoy reading your pieces this week, and I look forward to reading more in the next couple weeks and giving more critique and analysis. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow me on the Facebook account, Antonio Iramo, and make sure to, follow and post on Poetry Autopsy, the page. Thank you once again for joining me for this session. Have a great night.